Avner Dinur, you wrote an article in Hebrew that I just read briefly called Beyond Defense. What does that mean?
What is what does that mean? So this is our introduction. We just jump into it. Okay. When I wrote the article called Beyond the Fence or After this in Hebrew it might be either beyond or after. Yeah. And I mean in two ways. One is what is going on in beyond the fence from the Israeli perspective, or maybe three ways. What is going on from beyond the fence from Israeli perspective, which means what did Hamas think when they were launching this attack? What is going beyond the fence from the Hamas side, from the Israeli perspective? How do they see Israel and how should they see Israel? But also after, not only beyond the fence, but also after the fence, meaning what kind of political arrangement could we foresee that is coming and expected after this war? So in these three ways, we can start thinking about well what's going on here, and maybe come to some um, ideas about the future of Palestine and Israel, and how is Palestinian-Israeli Confederation, the project that you are working on, involved in these ideas?
Okay, so
How should we start?
well, the first of all, what is Hamas's when you say from Hamas's side or from Gaza's side, their perspective? What is their perspective?
Okay. So I'm not claiming to be a Hamas expert, not at all. I'm a philosopher, and I'm thinking about ideas and concepts, and not so much. But I do have some knowledge about what's going on in the Hamas side, and I would say the following: that most Israelis, and I think maybe also most Americans, and maybe other people in the West, when they ask themselves what did Hamas do and why did they do what they did, the answer usually is is that Hamas is a fundamental religious crazy organization like ISIS, And I'm not going to say anything more about ISIS. How I see ISIS as something really fundamental, crazy, so rooted in religion that is doing what it, and I don't want to challenge that. Clearly, Hamas is a fundamental religious organization, but I do want to ask the question: is that a sufficient explanation? And when I think of Hamas as an organization that besides its fundamental aspects has some political strategy, then it's very insufficient to say that this is the reason for what it did. And I can answer very briefly and say that um, the almost like 15 years of Hamas working under the siege of Israel is leading to the idea that Gaza was very far from being an independent state or independent region. Everything that Hamas was doing when it was ruling Gaza was depending on, a lot of it was depending on Israel. Very little was also dependent on Egypt. But almost everything that was happening in there was controlled by Israel from the outside, not from the inside, like before 2005, 2006. But it was from the outside, but still the control was there. So if the control was there, the
Well,
understanding,
what do you mean the control was there? Who was?
I mean, that Israel was controlling what's going in, controlling what's going out, controlling the economy. The currency was shekel. It was controlling almost everything was happening over there was controlled by Israel. Maybe not enough. Maybe it was not enough control because you know how much military equipment was going into the Gaza Strip without the approval of Israel. But still, what was happening is that Hamas was ruling Gaza for Israel, and the saying that Gaza is the biggest open air prison in the world, which is the Palestinian was saying it the whole time, meant that Hamas was acting as the
The guard.
The guards, yeah, thank you. The guards and the people of Gaza were the prisoners. And Israel was the outside guards. So we have inside guards and outside guards, but it's still guards. So Hamas was serving the causes of Israel because of the siege. And Hamas was coming to the realization that as much as this normalization between Saudi Arabia and Israel is approaching, and as much as the Palestinian issue is going off the table, they are doing the work for Israel, and maybe if they don't act for many years in the future, the Palestinian issue will be off the table. And this was something that Hamas, of course, could not agree for. They could not agree to be more again and again serving the Israeli interest and not their interest. They were doing little rounds of violence, and these rounds of violence were always ending with Hamas was attacking. Sometimes Israel was attacking first, sometimes Hamas was attacking first, but eventually we were going again to the same outcome, that we have a full siege over there. And my what I'm saying is something very simple. I'm saying that Hamas has a very clear political
Vision.
need to break this kind of happening, and Israel was not wise enough to understand that this is coming.
Now, you mentioned in your article a interview with a Hamas official who said that they have a certain vision. And from what I remember, the vision is for the Palestinians to take the entire area from the river to the sea. So you say, well, Israel should not have been surprised because Israelis are saying, why shouldn't they have been satisfied with what was given to them in Gaza? They should have created a sophisticated country in Gaza. That's the Israeli perspective. And that was not the goal of Hamas. The goal of Hamas is to take over the entire area of Israel, Palestine, from the river to the sea.
Yeah. So let me say, I want to say two things about it. First thing, and very important, is that maybe some of our listeners or viewers would say, okay, Avner is trying to justify what Hamas was doing. And this is absolutely not what I'm doing. I'm not trying to justify what they're doing. I'm saying that I can understand politically their aim. That's a very important differentiation. These two options. It's not just this is the first thing. Yeah. The other thing is to say that when you listen to the negotiation between Hamas and Israel at the minute, and we are talking now in December 2024. Listen to these negotiations from maybe from June, July until now. The main drisha, what is drisha?
Demand.
The main demand of Hamas is that Israel will fully withdraw from Gaza. Kind of, they want to build again the fence. They want to make a very clear fence when Israel is out. So it doesn't make any sense.
Who is they?
Hamas.
Hamas wants to have a fence between Gaza and Israel.
Yeah, this is what they say. They want Israel out, completely out of Philadelphia route. They want them completely out of Netzarim route. They want them completely out of the whole region. They want to have full control, Hamas control over Gaza. Now, this doesn't make any sense. Hamas wants to reconstruct the fence, while on the 7th of October 2023, they were the ones who broke the fence. And after a while, the IDF, the Israeli army, was also breaking the fence from the other side. So Hamas was breaking the fence, and the IDF was breaking the fence. And now Hamas wants to reconstruct the fence. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, I know that I'm asking these questions not as a journalist or as an expert of Hamas. I'm asking as a philosopher. It doesn't make sense. It's not logical.
But Hamas is not saying they want to build a fence. They're saying part of the negotiations, they want Israel to withdraw from Gaza. They are not making a demand for rebuilding the peace.
But if they want Israel out, this means that they are voting for separation. They're saying, we are here and you are there. And it's very clear to see that this is not what Hamas wants. You're right about that. Hamas's aim, and that I'm going back to your question, Hamas's aim is not to rule over Gaza. Hamas wants to be the leader of all Palestinians. They see how the PA, the Palestinian Authority, is very, very weak. They see how little support Abu Mazen is having in the West Bank and how little support he has in Gaza. And they say, we are the leaders of Palestinians and we want Palestine from the river to the sea, the whole of Palestine, for ourselves.
And what's wrong with that vision? They have full right and full explanation for wanting to control the whole area because the Palestinians have been expelled from the area of the river to the sea. That it makes perfect sense for the Palestinians to say, well, we want it back. Doesn't it?
No, it's not. It doesn't. To me, it does. Maybe to you it makes some sense, but to me, I live in Sderot. Sderot is two kilometers from Gaza, and to me, it doesn't make any sense to say that the Palestinians have the whole right, every right, to demand the whole region from the river to the sea because of some little detail that is 7 million Jews. From the river to the sea, we have 7 million Jews and we have 7 million Palestinians. Some of them are citizens of Israel, 2 million more or less. And some of them are not citizens, 5 million in the West Bank and in Gaza. And these Palestinians can say, we want the whole country, we want to control the whole country, just as much as the Israelis are saying, we want to control the whole country. And in the last 70 years, this is what was happening. The Israelis were saying, at first, they were saying, we want a separation. We are voting for the decision of the UN, that in the 29th of November 1947, the United Nations
Partition.
voted for partition, and the Israelis seems to support. They seem to say, we like this idea. You stay there and we stay here. So it seems to be that Hamas is very clear. Hamas wants the whole region, while the Israelis say something very different. They say, let's do separation. You are there, we are here, and then we can live together. Now, the idea that Hamas can have the whole region just doesn't work because there are almost half of the population is not their supporters. They are Jews. Even if all Palestinians will support Hamas, but is it true? Is it true that the interest of the Israelis is to make separation? I'm not very sure, and I want to say why not.
But I'm not asking for your perspective. I am saying from the Palestinian perspective. And Hamas apparently sees itself as the leader or the visionary of the Palestinian perspective. From their perspective, it makes perfect sense to say, from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. From their perspective. I'm sorry?
Also, from my perspective, it's very, I would say the two things together. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free.
You're citing the Israeli anthem that says, free country.
Yeah, we want to be free in our country. Look at the similarities. It's very interesting. One of the things that I do, I lead seminars for Palestinians and Israelis. In one of these seminars, we had a Palestinian participant, and he was asked to say, what does he hope for? What is your hope? And he said he was holding a little sign saying hope, and it was saying that the following: my hope is to be free in my country, Palestine. This is what he said. My hope is to be free in my country, Palestine. And I was saying to this Palestinian, do you realize that you just cited the Israeli anthem? The Israeli anthem is exactly the same. Our hope, Hatikva, is to be free in our country, Israel. So it's exactly parallel. It exactly works the same. And my question would be,
our what?
yeah, my question would be, what does it mean to be our land? And also, what does it mean to be free? And is there a real option for either Palestinians or Israelis to be free on their land while the others are not free? And I would say that the only way for a Palestinian to be freed, for the only way for Palestine to be free, is when Jews will be free on their land, and exactly the opposite, and also exactly the opposite. The only way for Jews to fulfill the promise of their anthem to be free on their land is when the Palestinians will be free on their land. Now the question is, how would that work? How can we come to how can we come to a political arrangement where both people acknowledge that the only way for them to be free is when the others is when
Well, that's what they're saying in public, but isn't this the true narrative for the Israelis is to get rid of the Palestinians in order to be free in their land, and for the Palestinians to get rid of the Israelis in order to be free in their land? They cannot really say that openly and publicly, but that's what they want, is they want to expel the others.
That's very true, unfortunately. And what I'm saying here is, I mean, I can understand this need or this want or this wish. I can understand the wish, but when you confront this wish with reality,
Not realistic.
yeah, it is. I would say the following. First of all, it's very unrealistic, and second, I will also say that it's not right. I don't want the Palestinians. I'm not looking for a solution for the conflict in which there are no Palestinians on the land for two reasons. One, that it's impossible, and the other, it's not desirable. I mean, it's not possible and it's not desirable. I don't want that, and I don't want that for moral reasons. I also don't want that for cultural reasons. I think that the diversity of cultures and the fact that we can live together and learn from each other and learn Arabic and learn Hebrew and learn about the different cultures is something that is really, it's great for our well-being. And the separation, I would say, is not doing. But here I have to jump to politics. I have to say something about politics.
Before you do that, on the philosophical aspect,
Yeah. Yeah.
is Israel? You think Israel is capable of staying a Jewish state or country in its current constellation if it didn't have the Palestinians as enemies? In other words, does Israel need an enemy in order to stay as a Jewish state?
Actually, the answer for that would be what I wanted to say politically. Exactly. Exactly what you asked. Let me say it this way. All what I was saying in the last 20 minutes or so, or 15 minutes, was that what the separation is not possible and not desirable. This is my point. And it's very weird, I think, that in the Israeli politics, the ones who are talking about separation is the left and not the right. So the right, because they believe, because they are messianic right, messianic religious right, and because in the center of this messianic religious right stands the idea that the whole country, the whole land, the whole land of Israel belongs to us. It was given to us by God. Because of this idea, people from the right has to say that they want that Israel could not be separated. And if it's not going to be separated. There are two possible meanings. One is that you drive all the Palestinians out, you chase them out, and ethnic cleansing in 1948, or like in Gaza at the minute. you do some kind of ethnic cleansing, and in this ethnic cleansing, you come to a result where you can have a Jewish state. I mean, think of what was happening in 1948. In 1948, a political party that is considered to be left-wing, Mapai, the Labour Party, Ben Gurion, it was establishing a Jewish democratic state. How can you establish a Jewish democratic state? You need a majority. You need a Jewish majority. How do you come to a majority? You chase out 7,000 Palestinians, and then
750.
and then you have a Jewish majority. And it's close to be insane to say that this is how democracy works.
You chase out your voters.
Yeah. I mean, think
I
of
mean, the voters, you chase out those that are going to vote against you. You just
you chase them
expel them.
out. You chase them. It's like saying in the United States, I want to rule the country. I'm like
Selling all of Texas.
yeah, explain. No, not that well. If you're a Democrat, right?
Yeah. Or exclude California if you are Republican.
Yeah. So that doesn't make any sense, of course, and it's totally anti-democratic.
Exactly.
Anti-democratic. Ben Gurion, I mean, the founder of Israeli apartheid is Ben Gurion because of this deed, because of the Nakba of 1948. But it's very easy to see that this is the only way to make a Jewish democratic state. You make a Jewish democratic state by expelling the others. But if Ben Gurion was serious in what he wanted, Ben Gurion, the Israeli left, wanted a Jewish democratic state. Why did they occupy the West Bank and Gaza in 1967? They were working against their interest when they were occupying these territories. And because of them, in the next 55 or 50 something years, they didn't withdraw from Gaza or from the West Bank. They were still working against their interests. And of course, when Ariel Sharon, was withdrawing from Gaza in 2005, and he was doing that because this is what he thought. He thought, we cannot be a Jewish democratic state when we are not the majority. And by the way, the Arabs were not a majority between the river and the sea until sometimes in the beginning of the 2000s. So when they crossed this line and they became a majority, the next thing that Israel did with Ariel Sharon was to withdraw from Gaza. So to come back again for some kind of majority. It's not a big majority, but it's some kind of majority when you take out Gaza. And of course, none of the Palestinians thought that this is something that they can work with. It's not a majority. So what you see here is that the Israeli left, including somebody from the center like Ariel Sharon, are always talking about separation. Something that is anti-left in any other country. People from the left would say that people are the same, that we're talking about equality, we're talking about universality. This is all the values of the left. And here in Israel, the left is talking about separation. Now, if separation is something that means that the Palestinians will be in a low class state where they cannot have their when Israel will rule it from the outside, and Israel will make sure that it would look like Gaza in the last 15 years, then the last thing that anybody who supports peace would want is that Israel would withdraw from the West Bank, withdraw from the Gaza, and keep the Palestinians in this small area of only 22% of mandatory Palestine, and rule it from the outside and make sure that the Palestinians and Israelis are not equal. This is not something that somebody from the left should do, and this is exactly what Israeli left is promoting or preaching in the last at least 50 years, since 1967.
Who is worse for peace? The Israeli left or the Israeli right?
I would say left. I would say left. And the reason is not, I mean, when I'm saying left, this is some of my best friends. Right? I'm talking. And maybe I should not send this podcast through. I'm not in so much trouble. But I'm saying that the left is more problematic than the right because the
They're
right.
more critical. They're more hypocritical than the right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would say that. I would say that definitely. And I see that here we agree more or less. But I would also say that the right are not really, they don't really know what they're doing. I mean, if you ask the Israeli right, what is your plan? There would, very few of them would say, we don't want any kind of democracy. Our plan is to rule the Palestinians until the end of time. And we are going to be a minority. We are a minority. We're going to be even more a minority in the future. And we are going to rule from this as a minority, the rule the Palestinians until the end of time. There are people who say that, completely crazy messianic people in the right, but most of them don't. Most of them say we're going to do some. We're going to do some kind of arrangement. We will find some kind of arrangement, but what kind of? And mostly I hear from people from the right. I'm talking about people, reasonable people, not Smotrich, not Ben-Gvir, reasonable people from the right. I asked them, what is your plan? What do you want to do? And they say, we don't have any plan except a Palestinian state. We don't have any. It's the only thing is that we don't trust the Palestinians that if we give them a state, yeah, they give a state, they will have a reasonable state to live by our state. So until they are reasonable, we're going to keep them guarded and keep them under our rule. This is what the right are saying. They're not saying anything very different from the left. And in the left, you say something that is also doesn't make much sense. They say that the only way for us to live together is to live in a Jewish democratic state, and it's very important, I think, to acknowledge that the Israeli right uh, um, are not working for a Jewish democratic state. The left are working for a Jewish democratic state because they say, let's withdraw from West Bank and Gaza, and then we will have again a democratic state. I think that the right, when they insist that we don't withdraw, are promoting something that makes much more sense to me. Although I know it comes from a bad intention. They have a bad intention, but the outcome would be much more close to what I think is, first of all, possible, and second, desirable. And this is an Israeli-Palestinian confederation. The right don't want a confederation, but they are promoting it in their acts.
This is news to me that you support an Israeli-Palestinian confederation because, from what I understand, you are part of a party that is running or proposed to be running for the Knesset in it's called of Israel or all of its city, all of our
All its citizens, كل مواطنية,
yeah.
كل المواطنين.
Okay, so that not supporting a federation, that's supporting the Israeli Knesset. You want to be part of the Knesset. So how could you say that you are supporting a confederation when you are running to be a Knesset member?
I'll answer that. Well, I want to answer all your questions. I think when people ask me or our party, first of all, I should say we are a very small party. I really hope that we will grow much bigger. And the main idea in our party is full equality. We are insisting that every position, everything that is happening in the party, including the Knesset members that hopefully would be in the Knesset. I don't know when that would happen, but I hope that will happen. It would always be fully equal. And we think that this is a real revolution. Why it's a revolution? Because from the establishment of Israel 70 something years ago until now, you have always Palestinian Arab Knesset members, parliament members, and you always have Jewish members. But first of all, it was always clear that we have much, much less Arab Palestinian members than in the percentage in
population.
the population, first of all. And second, in every political party that you could find in Israel, it's very clear to see, even if they call themselves a Jewish Arab party like Hadash, for example, even in these parties, you never see inequality. It's either you have an Arab party with one, maybe maximum one Israel, Jewish member, or you have a Jewish party with one, maximum two Palestinian Arab members. And maximum two, I'm talking only about Meretz. Meretz maybe is the only one, which has more than one, he used to be more than one Palestinian. Now, we are saying something that we are saying from the river to the sea, there are 7 million Arabs, there are 7 million Jews, and these Jews and these Arabs needs to live in full equality. Now, how to live in full equality? There are different options. One of them, for sure, would be one state, one big state for all 14, 15 million people. Another option on the other end of the line would be two fully separated states. And between these two options, one full state, one and two separated states, you have all kinds of other arrangements that I can call federative or confederative arrangements. Now, what we are saying is that it's very clear to see that full separation between the two nations is not possible and not desirable. And also full union of Israelis and Palestinians is not possible and not desirable. And since it's both sides, poles of this range are not possible and not desirable, then the main value or the main slogan, I'm looking for the right word in English for that, the main idea that would say what kind of arrangement we are going towards is togetherness but still separate. Together but still separate.
Well, let me ask you this.
What does that mean, to be together but still separate? What does that mean? I would answer that it means that even if you have two separated states, these two separated states need many joint organizations, many joint institutions that would make sure that these two states are working together in full collaboration. And also for the other side, even if you have one state, you will need many separate institutions. You will have separate towns. You will have separate educational systems. You have all kinds of other things that will be separate. And you need to take in consideration both the separate and the union. What does that mean politically? It means that the Knesset that we are running for, we want to be part of the Knesset. The Knesset, which until now is the sovereign of all the territory, would have to give up some of its force to joint institutions.
Well, but let me ask you this. You mentioned equality. You said that your party is about equality. How could it be about equality when you do not include the Palestinians in the West Bank and Gaza? They cannot vote. They cannot run. They are not part of the system. They are under occupation and under apartheid. How could you say that your party is about equality when it agrees with the notion that those people will not be allowed to vote for your party?
Excellent question. Excellent challenge for us. Excellent challenge. No, we are not approving for this situation of the occupation. We are not approving it. And
you're running for the Knesset, and you're running to be part of the Israeli government or the Israeli, but you're saying, well, we're not approving while you are.
No, we're not. We're not. And here I know because we had some talks in the past. I know that here we have a very big disagreement, you and I. But I'm saying that what you said is a big challenge for us, and it is a serious challenge that we confront. So certainly, I like the idea.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier in our conversation that Israel expelled 750,000 Palestinians before the creation of the State of Israel, and Ben Gurion created an apartheid Jewish democratic state
Absolutely.
and said, well, we just expelled 750,000. Let's now have an election. Aren't you doing the exact same thing by saying we are excluding several million Palestinians from the system, even though we're going to pass laws that they need to comply with? They are going to be under our jurisdiction.
No, I don't approve to that. If you look at our agenda, our values, our main ideas, you will say that resisting the occupation is the first one. I mean, when we have what would be our goal, resisting the occupation and resisting this scenario, this situation where you have we have 5 million people that don't have any basic civil rights and they cannot vote is the first thing that we are going to resist. And accordingly, when you in the IPC, right? The Israeli-Palestinian Confederation, when you organize, when you work for a confederation of Palestinians and Israelis where people are absolutely equal, I support you totally. I totally support you. And I want to reach that goal, and I want to be part of this goal that you in your organization are working for. Absolutely. But the question is how to get there. How to get there. And my answer will be the only way to get there is to work within the power arrangements. And in our current power arrangements, the full power of everything that is happening between the sea and the river, between the river and the sea, is on the hands of the Jews in the Knesset.
Wait. We are saying that the Israeli government is the problem. It's not the solution. We are proposing a federal government independent and separate from the Israeli government and the Palestinian government. Now
No,
you say you agree with that, and you say, well, the best way to make it happen is to have those governments that are the problem, especially the Israeli government that are the problem, work with them. Well, they're not going to support that. What government is in its right mind is going to support a competitive government that is going to prove them totally ineffective?
Yeah, so that is exactly my point. What we need is people with similar ideas, maybe not exactly your ideas, but very similar ideas, very close ideas. We need them in the place where they can, when they can influence, when they have some influence. Now, if I understand your way of acting, your way of your strategy, the strategy is saying we are not asking for anybody's permission. We are establishing this parliament from right now.
Not parliament, government that includes a parliament.
Parliament, a court,
Executive, president, vice president, our entire echelon of system. No. We're not talking about any substantive policies that the government will pass. We are saying let's have a system of government with equality for the Palestinians and the Israelis, all of them from the river to the sea, and let them decide all the substantive issues, including, you mentioned including whether to have two states, whether to have one state, whether to have what to do with Jerusalem, what to have on foreign policy. All these substantive issues will be decided by the people of Israel and Palestine in a federal government together. Now you're saying
absolutely, and I support it totally.
okay, but you're not. You're saying you support it, but you
I'm
but
saying,
you're rooting for another government.
well, see, I'm with you. I'm with you. Really, in my heart, my mind, I'm with you totally. But
Okay.
there's a, there's a but. There's always a but, right?
Well, no, you don't need to have a but. You can say I support you. I am abandoning my idea of running for the Israeli government. This is a Zionist, racist government that is going to harm the Jewish people and the Palestinian people. And I see a new vision. And the new vision is to have a government for the entire area of Israel and Palestine.
So thank you for the advice, but no. But not fully no. Again, most of what you say, I say yes, 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 yes. Only one small thing: how to reach that goal. And I believe that the only way to reach that goal is through the current arrangements of power. And what do I mean by that? I mean that for the last 70 years, we had a very big debate in Israel between left and right. Left and right, left and right. The right are for the whole land of Israel, Eretz Israel Shlema, and the left is for the separation. We had it for a very long time. I believe that this political argument was not confronting reality. It was not confronting the reality that I was talking about earlier about full separation is not possible, full union is not possible, these are not possible. Let's find a political arrangement which is possible and desirable. I believe that when your ideas, our ideas, I want to say here our ideas, the ones that you agree on and the one that I agree on, and I think many of them are very, very similar. When our ideas will be in the Knesset, I believe that all the left parties and all the center parties will have to um, re
Reevaluate or reconstruct or re-examine
yeah,
or
exactly,
reformulate.
yeah, reformulate. Exactly. Thank you. Reformulate. What do they mean when they say that they want equality? And they will have to, and the meaning of political equality in Israel will change dramatically if you have these voices in the Knesset. We don't have to reach the government. I'm very skeptic if we will reach the government in the next 40 years or so. But I do believe that we don't need to be part of the government in order to make a very, very fundamental change. And this is something that is we're talking a lot in our party. This is not my idea. Other people in the party and also especially our chairman Avon Bull is using that phrase a lot, and I think he's very right about that. You don't need to have 20 Knesset members to make a change. All you need is to get into the Knesset, into the structure of power with new ideas. And we are going to be inside the Knesset, hopefully, and and talk about apartheid and talk about the need to talk about Zionism as a form of colonialism. We're going to talk about the combination of religion and nation inside the Zionist idea. We're going to talk about all these things. And we're going to force the Israeli political system to look at things in a different way and to promote different ideas. I think that your ideas are wonderful. I agree with many of them. But because you insist that Israeli politics is fully corrupted, you insist on not to participate in this corrupted system. I want to participate in the system
Yeah,
in order to change it.
okay.
And I don't. You force me to acknowledge, and I totally resist to say that when I run to the Knesset, I agree to apartheid, to colonialism, to Zionism. I don't agree to any of these. I don't agree to any of these, and I want to change these ideas inside the system. By the way, something very important that I didn't say so far. Absolutely don't believe that this is the only way. I'm not saying that our party is the only way to change the system. I see something much more important, and this is education, working with young people. And this is all actually what The
Let me ask you a question.
view is this.
You mentioned earlier that there was discussion and a debate in Israel ever since the creation of the State of Israel between separation or segregation between Israelis and Palestinians. But was there a debate about the need for a Jewish state to begin with? Is that ever been questioned? Is that a wise decision for the Jews to have a Jewish state? Does it give them more uh, anything that they desire? Is a Jewish state good for the Jews or the Palestinians? Was there ever a debate on that? Because from what I understand, all the debates were within the confines of a Jewish state.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's a meaningless debate as far as I'm concerned, because it doesn't challenge the underlying problem. And there is a fear of saying, well, a Jewish state hasn't worked for us. A Jewish state cannot be a democracy. A Jewish state is fundamentally will always have an enemy, because a Jewish state needs enemies in order to justify its existence. That debate is the root, the basis of that issue is the basis of the problem. So if you do not debate that, and you say, well, let's just assume that everything we have done is correct and just try to maneuver a little bit to the right or a little bit to the left in order to make things better, but ignore the underlying issue, it's not going to get you anywhere.
I absolutely agree with you. And I can say, historically, you're absolutely right. There was an option promoted by Kada'am to speak of a cultural Zionism, to speak of a homeland that is not necessarily a state. There was this option. Ever since, I don't know, the 30s, the 40s, ever since there may be the 1936 Arab Rebellion, Zionism went in a different way. Zionism chose to go with Herzl and not with Hada'am. And to go with Herzl and not with Hada'am means that the main idea would be a Jewish state. And I think I absolutely agree with you that this idea was very, very problematic. And I think it's problematic. Actually, I can say a lot about that, and maybe I don't know if we have enough time here in this talk. I think there are two huge problems here. One of them is that when you say Jewish, you mean something that is combining religion and nation. Judaism is a combination of religion and nation, and when you combine religion in
Politics?
a political setting, you come to very, very problematic results. And the other is that this Jewish state was also part of occupation. It was part of it was a colonial project, meaning that there were people here. And maybe this is the land of the Jews from the ancient times. Maybe I don't want to ask now if that's true or not true. But even if it is promised by God or promised by history, when the Jews arrived here, there were people here. So when you come to a place where there are people and you establish your own political entity, you are a colonialist. And being a colonialist, the kind of colonialist that doesn't leave space for the indigenous population in your entity makes this whole project very, very, very problematic. Think of other colonialist projects like the United States. I mean, the Israeli colonialism is like saying in the United States that after the Europeans erased the indigenous population almost completely, now the United States is a state for Europeans. This is what it means. It means that, and of course, you know that the place where you live in, the United States, is not saying that. It's saying, okay, maybe it was wrong, maybe it was right to do this wrongdoings. Indigenous people was wrong, But still, now they are part of our society, and this is not what Israel is saying. And I think that a good answer to your question would be coming back to the Balfour Declaration. Israel is is holding for the Balfour Declaration as some kind of international agreement for establishing for
Authority.
state.
Yes.
And if you read the declaration, you can see a few things that I want to emphasize here. First of all, it's a colonialist declaration. Nobody gave the British Empire the right to say that that the Jews have right for Israel. That's his first thing. Second thing is that the declaration is not saying that His Majesty is supporting a Jewish state. It's not saying that. It's saying we are supporting a Jewish homeland, a Jewish homeland. But it says also something different. It says His Majesty is supporting a Jewish homeland under two conditions. One is that this homeland is not harming in any way the indigenous population. And two, that this homeland is not harming in any way Jewish population outside of Israel. And what do we see in Zionist history? That the Zionists took the idea that His Majesty is supporting them and say, okay, His Majesty is supporting a Jewish state, and he was not. And this Jewish state would harm in any possible way the indigenous population, but it would also affect Jews outside of Israel. It would also mean that anti-Zionism becomes, and you see it very, very strongly in the last year, anti-Zionism becomes anti-Semitism. The Jewish Zionism is causing anti-Semitism, is making Jewish life outside of Israel very hard and very problematic. And
also in Israel. Also in Israel.
Also in Israel. And I fear that in the future it will be much, much worse. And that anti-Zionism would cause a great suffering for Jews outside of Israel. And I'm saying something very, very simple. Why shouldn't we go back? I mean, the Balfour Declaration was a colonialist, problematic declaration at its time. But now, when we already have 7 million Jews in the land of Israel, in Palestine, and we already have 7 million Palestinians in Palestine, why don't we go back to them? Why don't we go back there and say, let's leave aside the idea of a Jewish state, but not give up the idea of a Jewish homeland, and not give up the idea of a Palestinian homeland. And also say, I said it earlier, but I want to say it maybe in a little bit different words, that the only way to have a Jewish homeland is to insist that the Palestinians are entitled to have an own homeland here on the land of Israel. And here I want to maybe I can sum it up with the words that maybe quite known words of the late wonderful Rabbi Menachem Fuhrman, who said that it's not true that the land of Israel, and we're not talking about a rabbi here, but Fuhrman, yeah, and
I know. I mean, I never met him, but I know of him.
Quote, right? You know what quote I'm talking about, right? Or you don't?
No, I don't know the quote, but I know the rabbi.
Okay. So Fuhrman, his family, I didn't know him personally, but I know quite well a few of the family. And Fuhrman says something very, very strong, I think. He said, Jewish history, we talk a lot about the land of Israel belongs to the Jews, the land of Israel belongs to the Jews. And he says, I want to give that up. I don't believe that the land of Israel belongs to the Jews, but I do believe that the Jews belong to the land of Israel. The Jews belong to the land of Israel. But when you believe that the Jews belong to the land of Israel, you can very easily say, I also believe that the Palestinians belong to Palestine. And Palestine in the land of Israel.
That's Hanan Schlesinger says the exact same thing.
I bet he did. I bet he did. And because I know Schlesinger, and I think, and I know that he thinks very, very similar things about that. But unfortunately, he still sees himself as a Zionist.
Yeah. Yeah, but he sees it, I think, I don't want to explain for him, in the same spirit that Rabbi Furman said. He says, I belong here, but the Palestinians belong here as well. So what's his definition of Zionism? I don't know. I don't want to be his spokesperson. I think he could explain his own vision. All right. I think we had a wonderful conversation. I enjoyed speaking with you very much. And thank you so much. You participated in our simulation. And I had a great conversation with you, Avner. And hopefully, when I'm planning to come to Israel soon, I'll come and visit with you.
Hopefully. Thank you for the conversation. I also enjoyed it, and I hope these ideas, the ideas were clear enough so we can spread them out and find listeners. So thank you so much for that.
All right. Thank you, Avner.
Okay,
Toda.
bye bye. Bye bye.